So, good morning, everyone. It's great to see you here Monday morning at 8 a.m. It's unbelievable that you made it to come. I know people from the hospitals got already 1 hour of their clinical duties after them, but here in the campus I know that people start to leave at around 8, 9 o'clock, so I really appreciate that you come to join us. Today we have a special guest here, but before we start with our usual discussion, I would ask Dasha from the project office to go on in a tradition of project breakfasts, and this is about what our project office of our med school can do for you, and some info that we think is essential for you. So Dasha, it's your time.
Thank you. Good morning. I would like to briefly show you that you don't have to be afraid of applying to the European grant schemes, and that the excuses we often get from the researchers that the European grants are more difficult to get in comparison with the national grants are just excuses. Because we compared 3 pairs of programs. One of the pair is always the European program, and the other one is always the national program funded by the Czech National Science Foundation, GAČR, and you will see the results. So the first pair of programs are focused on postdocs coming to the Czech Republic, performing excellent research. And you can see that there are some differences in the eligibility criteria, that for the MSCA postdoctoral fellowship, you can apply up to 8 years after obtaining your PhD. Otherwise, for GAČR incoming fellowship, you can apply only 4 years after getting your PhD. On the other hand, with GAČR, you can get funding for up to 3 years. But when you look at the success rates with the MSCA in blue and GAČR incoming fellowship in red, you see that the results and the success rates are comparable. But you can also see the gray column, which is the Czech version of the MSCA fellowship, which you can get only if you apply for the European MSCA postdoctoral fellowship. If you score over 70% in the European version of the MSCA, you get the funding from the Czech Ministry of Education, and you can see that the success rates rise up to 80%. The other pair of programs we compared is ERC starting grants versus GAČR Junior Star. Both programs are focused on early career researchers performing excellent research. You can see that with ERC starting grants you get more money, and if you look at the success rates with ERC starting in blue and GAČR Junior Star in red, you can see that the success rates are even higher with the European program compared to the Czech one. And the last pair, these are ERC Consolidator and Advanced Grant versus GAČR Expro grants, which are grants focused on established researchers, performing, again, excellent research. And, well, the conditions are quite similar, even financially. But having an ERC or GAČR in your CV is a big difference. Here you can see the results of the success rates. GAČR Expro program, the call isn't open every year, so that's why there is a missing column. In blue it's the ERC, and in red is the GAČR Expro. And there's another argument supporting applying for the European version for the ERC, and it's the Czech version, funded by the Ministry of Education. If you score A in the second round of evaluation, you get the full money for 5 years, as in ERC, and if you score B in the second round of evaluation, you get a budget for 2 years, and then you reapply for ERC. My point was to show you that you don't have to be afraid to apply, especially for ERC. And the reason you don't have to be afraid is also because we are here to help you, both on the level of the faculty, especially the Faculty of Medicine. We can support you with consultations, graphic design, mock interviews, whatever you will need, and also with the support of Central Grant Office and the program Gamma Horizons. We can offer you different services you need, like commercial available trainings, mock interviews, or proofreading by international experts, whatever you need. Also, there are workshops by Technology Center Prague, which are very good and very helpful. So you don't have to be afraid, and just come to us, and we will help you. Thank you.
Perfect. Dasha, thank you for your quick overview of Czech and European grant schemes. I think that it's clear that we would be very happy that people from the med school try the European schemes because it's really worth trying. Now, let me invite our special guest, Rector of the Masaryk University, Martin Bareš. Martin, please join us. And let's dive in. I know that Martin doesn't need any introduction, but let me just share a few remarks or thoughts. We met together when you get back from Minnesota. I don't know what was the year exactly. It was somewhere 2003, 2005. Yeah. And this was during initial discussions how to integrate neuroscience in the med school and in the Brno area, and what made you stand out from the crowd of neuroscientists back there was that you said, think big. don't go for some small ideas. Just think big, and this is something I think that characterizes you. This is your feature, I would say, as a psychiatrist. Think big.
Good to know.
Yeah. This was really in the past, long before CETEC and ICRC discussion started, so this is something that was an important historical moment in the history of med school and Masaryk. And after that, you really had an impressive career, yeah? Not to mention your rector duties right now, but you were, during the initial discussions about SIMU here in med school, you served as a vice rector for 2 different portfolios. So this is really impressive. And what we here would like to know, what motivates you, what worked for you during your career, what were the crucial steps that you, when you're looking back, recognize as a, let's say, critical points that started you and where you are now, and I believe that this is not the end. So, Martin, thank you for coming together with us, and please, could you comment on your career from the beginning? Yeah.
Thank you. I'm a little bit nervous, actually, because such nice words I haven't listened to for many years, and I don't think that I deserve it, but I will try to describe a little bit from my personal perspective that career and my approach to academia, to research, and maybe nowadays also to the development of our university, where Faculty of Medicine is one of the 4 founding faculties, and actually I'm so glad to hear and to see how many opportunities here are at the Faculty of Medicine, and how the management of the Faculty of Medicine is approaching them. I'm sorry, it's not working properly. Thank you very much. Maybe I will just, and also to remind myself that I had started as a doctor at the first department of neurology. I'm so glad that my current head is with me, Milan Brazdil, and he's in 1993. And Milan actually was my mentor from the clinical point of view. One of the big, you know, I would say personalities which I had met, who I had met in my career, was the head of the department, Ivan Rector. I think that you know him very well. And he was very, I would say, very specific in the terms of pressing and pursuing the research career, not only the clinical career, to take care of patients and so on, but because of his long-term research devoted to in the field of epilepsy and movement disorders and long-term stay in France, he was really pressing, I think, a lot towards us, new colleagues, and many of them had left actually, yeah, during the or after the all those graduations steps in the field of clinical neurology. And during PhD studies, I had spent, those were only short-term stays in late 90s in Slovenia, then in the turn of the century in Netherlands and in Germany. And after the PhD, I had decided and was really thinking a lot what I would like to do in my career, to be clinician, to be, you know, to leave, for instance, leave the department and to become in private practice, and you earn a lot of money and so on. And yeah, think big. I don't know if it means think big, but I had decided to run for Fulbright scholarship, and to my big surprise, I got it for the first time, and I took my family with, my wife, and at that time he was around 5 years old, my son, and had left in 2003 for the department to Minnesota. Okay, sorry.
I stop you here, yeah.
Okay.
Just to reflect what you just said.
Okay,
yeah.
Reflection, okay.
No. Let me do that.
Yes, sorry,
Yeah.
maybe I'm too long.
No.
And the reflection is that I was definitely much more nervous there and not very self-confident during the first weeks and months there, because that Czech educational system and also the research background here at that time was not, you know, that was preparing you for that approach how the Americans are doing, you know, that we are best and we are great and we will do everything. This was one of the lessons learned, that our educational system and the background, research background, is solid here, that you can survive there. And I got the extension of that state from Fulbright to postdoc. And I was part of the team, neuroimaging, spectroscopy, fMRI, and so on. And the biggest reflection is that I started to be much more confident in my what I'm doing and how my thinking about the research excellence and also managing the people is, and also when I came back, as Tomáš said, ICRC SATEC was on the way, and we were talking how to promote more and to be more active in the field of neuroscience, for instance, and how to approach, for instance, the non-existing field of postdocs here, and this is what I was also very happy that we can discuss with Milan and colleagues from, for instance, Faculty of Social Studies, and the PhD program of neuroscience was established. So, and this was really a game changer for me. And Tomáš mentioned SIMO. I was doing research in the US, but I was missing the patients after some time. And I passed all those USMLE, United States Medical License examination. And so after 10 years, I repeated everything from medicine and from very different perspective. And one part of that examination was examining the actors, the actors, simulating the diagnosis. And I was completely impressed by the facility. So, and when I became vice rector, I started to spread that idea together with former dean. And SIMO is here. Postdocs are here. Campus is expanding. And another very big lesson learned, in the field of neuroscience, you need to work in team. Not the clinical neurologists, but I was part of the team where psychologists were sociologists, economists, IT experts, and so on. The medical doctors were actually in vast minority doing neuroscience research. So, and it was for me big lesson learned.
Great, great. Thank you for reflection. And if we go back to the critical moment that you started considering moving to US or applying for Fulbright, this was in times where the clinical doctors don't or didn't go very frequently to internships. So, what was the motivation? What was the driving force that you said, this is a good idea, I'm going out there and let's see if I survive with my Czech background, the American nature?
Yeah, that's actually, from time to time I'll also questioning myself why I did it and if it was good or a bad move, because for instance, from the financial point of view, it was a disaster for me. I had to invest a lot of money because if you are postdoc in the US, you are really just earning money to pay the rent and everything. And if you are there with your family, you have to pay also the medical, everything, the coverage and so on for the members of your family. But people, and I'm sorry that I was introduced as a rector, a lot of them, you know me as a rector, but before being rector I was, and I am the clinical neurologist and teacher at the med school, and actually I'm very competitive. That's what I emphasize also, to be much more visible for the university abroad and so on. But the biggest competitor to me is myself. So maybe it was the hard driver that I wanted to learn something new and to try if I can be successful. I don't know if that task was fulfilled. The history will tell, but I'm still cooperating with the colleagues from that time. One of them is at the Faculty of Montreal. I got the position of something like visiting professor at the University of Minnesota. A couple of papers were published, and a couple of my postdocs stayed in the US at the department, and maybe some of colleagues, I was giving the recommendations also for my colleagues from different fields of medicine, anatomy, neurology, and so on, and they spent also some time in US on Fulbright or different schemes. So this is another thing that maybe when I'm now thinking about it, at that time, that to share your experience and to pass it to a younger generation, and if that younger generation is better than you, this is the biggest reward for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. And I will dig again in your past. Yeah? Yes, I'm sorry, I cannot suppress the clinician inside of me, but here we usually want to speak about a supervisor, PhD student relationships, what's the duty of a supervisor, etc. So when you were considering going for the Fulbright, was your supervisor anyhow involved? Was he somehow motivated you that when you finished PhD you should move elsewhere to go to the other level, not to stay in Brno and bury yourself in clinical duties?
Actually, to be honest, some people at the department were not so happy that I was moving to leave the department for. Originally, it was planned for 1 year and then extended, because also from the everyday perspective from the department, you have to be on duty. At that time, there were no restrictions how many hours you have to spend in the hospital, during the night service and so on. It was pretty typical to be in a hospital 8 to 12 times per month, over the nights and so on. And because I was at that time, after the second attestation, all the system, the fully licensed neurologist, senior neurologist, so I was on duty at the department. So from this perspective, it was loose, in some eyes at the department. But from the perspective of research, I got the, solid backup from Ivan and other colleagues who were who experienced what does it mean to be abroad for some time, because from time to time we are talking here, and not only here, it's questioned and discussed all around the globe, that inbreeding and so on. I'm product of inbreeding as well, because I'm the alumni of this university and so on. So I don't see this issue such a big problem, but we are losing, if we are at the one point for whole career, at one department, university, I think that we are losing that experience, and we are also losing that some room for improvement, or from time to time, and we can hear it from our students who are going, for instance, for Erasmus or something like that. Yes, our university is really good. We didn't think about it before. So, briefly, mixed reaction. Because I was, outside of clinical duties, and support from the people who were out abroad for some time.
Yeah, so this was an important, I suppose. You have the first guest here from the clinical science. Yeah, we had guests from the basic science and preclinical science, and I think that the experience is a bit different when you compare our environment here and the environment in US or anywhere else. And we try to touch on the topic, what do you think is taking us down, what hinders us to be better, yeah, to be comparable to Minnesota or any other center. So can you share some thoughts about that? Because you said what I brought here was a self-confidence on what I'm doing and the ability to sell myself and my work. Yeah. So is this the essence of the success, or is it equipment or money or people, or what do you think?
You said that. Actually, it's not the money, it's not the equipment, even though they are very important. It's about the people and yourself, of course. I would like to also just briefly put it in that historical perspective. When I was living in Czech Republic, we were not yet part of European Union. When I came back, we were part of the European Union. And after that time, I was absent from the Czech Republic, that the difference was really huge, even though we here didn't feel it like that. Because all those grant schemes, for instance, a couple of them were introduced before our breakfast. They were not present, they were not available. That whole, approach and the possibility to get European funding was completely different. South Moravian region established South Moravian Innovation Center, which is also enriching the universities. So definitely it's about the people, it's about yourself, that also to some kind of brave, to be brave, because it's, for me personally, that Martin was going to kindergarten, and all those vaccination schemes and so on. It's also another thing, and important, when I'm at this position, temporal position, because in 3 years, fortunately, it will be over, the rectorate office. But when we are, for instance, attracting people from abroad, it's not only about settlement of the researchers. You have to take care of their families. You have to take care of their kids if they are coming with. You have to take care of English classes, some, another activities. For instance, for us it was great that I became researcher there, and the first invitation was for the baseball event, to get together the people because they would like you to become a real part of the community. So it's another very important thing when we are talking about, okay, it's not about the equipment, and please do this research in neuroscience, and we have 3 Tesla or that structural biology and so on. It's also about where the kids would go to school, what's the possibility of their another education, how it's with your husband or wife or friends, and so on and so on.
It must be really difficult to relocate with your whole family. Was there any kind of support? Was there something like a welcome office with a support program for you and your wife and kids?
Yes, this is also very important. At that time, it was not present at our university, and thanks to SATEC, where that welcome office was established, and later also at our Department for Foreign Affairs at the university. It was just the very regular procedure during the welcoming you at the university. So not only where is my office, or it was not office, I was working in open space, one computer, shared computer, 1.5 times 2 meters square. And experiments were done at the, of course, the fMRI or MRI facility outside the office. But it was a regular procedure that go through all those, the same, you know, like how do you handle the waste and so on and so on, some medical checkup, of course. And another was that welcome office, who I am, from which part of the world I'm coming, because for them it was completely normal. You know, and a lot of nationalities from around the globe, who is accompanying me. Okay, what's the level of English of my wife? Not so good, so okay, we will go for some English classes. It was, and actually it had started before I was physically present there, you know, for months, you know. So, for instance, that kindergarten, place in the kindergarten. So there was a very professional approach towards the foreigners, because they were used to it. And we were part of Austrian, you know, community, you know, that, you know, geographically it's close.
Yeah, historically. Okay, yeah, so the support was essential, I suppose, yeah. You take the advantage of Fulbright. If you could do a short promo of Fulbright, because I know that you are Fulbright alumni and the community, or would you recommend to people from the med school to try the Fulbright to move to the US?
Yesterday you were late if you didn't consider it. Definitely yes, absolutely. It's very competitive nowadays. Even on the side of the government of US, there are some, you know, of course, financial crisis hit hard the whole globe, even the American economy. But still, Fulbright grants are available. Please follow them. From time to time there is information, they were released, you know, and so on. If I'm not wrong, the process is being started each year in late November or December, and the negotiations are during the first 3 months of each year, and definitely yes. And the coverage at that time for me was sufficient, not for the family, but it's okay. And in my career, in professional career, it was the best decision to do it. And as a rector, I took the advantage that from time to time I can decide something. And we have established the Fulbright Alumni Club at the university. Last year, the American ambassador was opening it, and we are planning another session of Fulbright Alumni Club for the second part of this year. Definitely, please, if anybody is considering Fulbright, go for it. But there are also other very competitive schemes, not only Fulbright.
Okay. Let's move on to another topic. I used to ask, what do you consider a great paper? Yeah, and this is really a hot topic right now. What's a good paper or not? But I would like to extend the topic to how do we evaluate researchers and research papers? Yeah, because I remember when you served as a dean of med school back in 2018. We started a discussion how to change the qualification criteria for habilitation and professorship, and your input from the US was quite essential, because there are 3 points for how people are evaluated. Yeah, research, money, and networking. Yeah. So could you comment on that? What do you think is the essential for recognizing who's doing well and what's a good work?
Yeah, it's an easy question, but with not so easy answer, because to evaluate and then the financial consequences out of the research output are discussed everywhere. Here we had that pretty, I would say, tricky system that we were counting the points for the papers. You know, that Nature paper could score like 100 points, but 100 times Czech and Slovak neurology and neurosurgery could be 100 times 1 point, so you got in the end the same amount of money, which is not that approach I would like to follow. When I came back and become also more known among the colleagues, not only from University of Minnesota, but also from the neurology and neuroscience field, that they have a very different system how to promote and how to attract the professors. And there are just 5 fields they are considering. And among those 5 fields is not the list of all papers. Please list 5 to 10 most distinguished papers. And why? And of course, if those papers are in Nature or in that in movement disorders in our field or clinical neurophysiology with some citation in good journals like Brain and so on, then of course this is the significant output which community is acknowledging. And on the other hand, if I, for instance, would list 5 papers from Czech and Slovak, it's not against the Czech and Slovak neurology and neurosurgery, it's a good journal, but for different purposes. So then I think it's the completely different view on the research output. And the second is how are you, the second field, how is your teaching abilities, including PhD. This is very important. And I think that this is still, there is a lot of work ahead of us to improve PhD studies, not only at our university, but also in the Czech Republic, but definitely at our university. It's improving a lot, but still there is a lot of work to do. Mentorship, stays abroad, outcomes, financial issues, of course. But because PhD graduates are for newly appointed professors in US very important field, which is also considered how you are doing with your research. And of course then obtaining the external grant funding, external, not internal.
Perfect. So you mentioned that you provide a list of the most important papers and you give a ratio now. Why do you consider them so high? And what distinguishes a good paper is also who cite the publication, who take advantage of the results of that, not only what's in there. So this is not that much about the journal or IF or the bibliometry, etc., etc. So it's still, if you want to know if the paper is good, you need to read it and you need to see what the community is taking advantage of that.
Absolutely, and this is why, and some from time to time, and nowadays again, we have very, I think, tricky discussions about the quality of research. But it's about that community. If that community really likes or dislikes that paper, you can say it, you know. And it's not about the journal, because when, for instance, this was, and thank you again, now one of the memory came out. I was doing that research at the department where the principle of fMRI, functional MRI, was discovered. And they had a lot of their papers in that specific paper, NMRI medicine or something like that, or not in Science or Nature. And I was asking why they are publishing this in this journal, because it has pretty good impact factor, but not like, you know, Science or Nature. And they said to me, the community considers this journal as that journal which is important in the field, because from time to time in science we can, even in science, we can, from our perspective, we can read the paper which is, we are not so sure if it would be suitable for our journal. So this was another, for me it was a big surprise. So it's about the quality of paper, not the journal as such. But of course, we have to consider the research areas, you know, for instance, if you are typically clinical, you know, oriented person, then of course it's a little bit limited. But on the other hand, in the US, there is nothing like a PhD in clinical neurology. They didn't understand what I was talking about, that Martin, you have PhD in neuroscience, right? And I was trying to explain, no, in clinical neurology. No, because PhD is really about the research, so preclinical or theoretical.
Yeah, perfect, thank you. We have a few questions from the audience, so if you allow me to just ask some of them, because we touched on many of them, but I think that here are a few questions from early career researchers, and I would like to ask them. So perhaps, what were the primary obstacles you faced at the beginning of your career, and how did you overcome them? What influenced your decisions to pursue an academic career? Of Akrem Belli asked the question. So what were
I think that I said something, because I had started as a really very general neurologist working with patients, night service and so on. And at that time, really, you know, I was just sleeping and working and preparing for the first graduation or attestation after 3 years. And at the same time, our former head of the department, Ivan Rector, was really pushing hard to do research. It was very difficult, you know, that there was almost no room for research, but we have to overcome it. At that time, I was a little bit, sometimes really depressed, you know. So what to do, because, you know, that you were really tired, you preparing for how to handle that, you know, neurological hammer and so on, and to learn a lot of new information in the field of clinical neurology, to pass that examination, first attestation, at the time to start some solid research. It was, at that time for me, I was considering it as obstacle. Today, I would say it was the development in my career, and actually maybe that distinguishing field.
Yeah, an important question nowadays. A lot concerning well-being. How do you manage to balance your academic career and family? It's a hard question.
Should I answer as a rector or Martin Bareš? because, yeah, no, okay. It's difficult, definitely. Without strong support of my family, I would never be, I don't know if successful, but there where I am. It's really difficult. Nowadays, it's the situation much better than those 30 or 20 years ago. I'm very glad that, for instance, also some legal background for the clinical work is now working in much humanistic way, that you are not, 10 to 12 times on duty in the hospital and so on and so on, and that we have, for instance, returning grants for our colleagues coming from, for instance, maternity leave and so on. But from my very perspective, it's because to be a rector, it's not that I start at 8 and finish at 4. And it's not only for the rector, of course. But without that effort and without thinking and traveling to different ministries and so on, there was no pharmaceutical faculty, Muni Biopharma, and so on and so on. And of course, that questions also goes to my current research, which is almost non-existing, I have to say, because I'm almost totally devoted now to my rector's office and taking care of patients at the outpatient clinic at the medical school. I don't have any grant now. Mm-hmm. So this is the price paid for that position, highest position.
This is really impressive what you achieved when you carrying on. So let me just extend the question. So how to keep your sanity there? Do you have to set up some rules that, the work is never ending? Yeah, you can work all the time, you can meet people all the time, you can make meetings with all the admin staff in the ministers, etc., etc. So do you need to be hard to yourself and say, okay, that's enough, and this is time for myself, and I'll spend a weekend, for example in Vienna, and get a refresh or something like that?
Without that, I would not survive, of course. From time to time, I have to do it. That's why, for instance, I stepped down as a president of the Czech Rectors Conference. I was not running for second term because I was really spending a lot of time with sometimes not very productive discussions and meetings, and that's why I have decided to work only, not only, but almost exclusively for my university and for my preparing for the next period of my professional development after the rector's office. So definitely this is very important, and that's why I very appreciate, for instance, last week we had Muni Day and so on. Those are very unique times when you can refresh yourself and to be out of the office and of the memories, what to do with the university.
Yeah. Thank you for answering the hard questions. Yeah, our time is running out, so I would like to ask the last question, and if Hanna Svozilova asked it. What are your plans for the future, since you cannot be rector 3 times? So is there anything that you want to share with us about what's gonna happen after 3 years of your service?
First, thank you for this very straightforward question. I don't know what I would do. I definitely do know what I don't do. I repeatedly said that even though on different occasions I'm all the time emphasizing that I'm developing the pathway which was set up by my previous rector's colleagues, you know, that excellence extending, for instance, not only campus and so on, but the disruptive behavior or approach would be in the political afterlife, or I don't know if I can say that. After rector's life. No politics, but definitely what I would like to do is to be completely at the department of, hopefully if my head would consider that I'm useful for him without any grant applications currently and so on, to be a part of the Department of Neurology at St. Anne's Hospital, which is a common department with med school, taking care of patients in the field of movement disorders and botulinum toxin therapy and so on. Mentoring the PhD students, I have now one student, I will extend it, of course, and to be useful for teaching the medical students. Those are the plans. What comes out, another possibility, we'll see.
Thank you, Martin.
Fortunately, you cannot be rector more than 2 times. That would be really... Okay, this is for another discussion field.
Okay. Thank you, Martin. I hope that your boss will consider your break in academic career as a reasonable, because we know that this is a sacrifice that you are doing. This is a really a job that you don't want to do if you don't want. If you want what it is about, yeah. So thank you for, yeah.
Thank you very much, because also this question actually creates the question for myself: how it's possible that this guy, you know, from Brno, without any experience, without any, you know, because my parents were not from the medical field, could become rector. That's for me something what I'm still questioning myself. And when I was also sharing with you my pathway, is that this is about the dream, or not the dream, but about service as well, about the approach, and that actually everybody can do it if I did it, you know. So maybe it's a question for the audience and this is, I think, one of the strong remarks of democracy, that very common guy from Brno who is shouting at some ice hockey games and going with friends and so on, out and discussing everything, and could become a rector. It's a privilege of democracy, and we have to take care of it, and we have to keep it, because everybody could run for these high positions, but it's service. I don't know if it's sacrifice, it's service. And it's that you don't have a lot of friends, because you have to do a lot of tough decisions which are not acknowledged by everybody, because you have to do from time to time the decisions which are not very good for some people, that you are pressing to, okay, please, this is not the correct approach. This has to be changed. But the history will tell if it was good or bad service. And again, thank you very much that you invited me, because it's, for me, it's a privilege. big privilege to be here with you. Thank you.
Thank you. Just think big, and then you can do anything. Okay, Martin, thank you again. And I wish you a lot of stamina and good luck for the next 3-4 years and afterlife of your liking. Yeah. Good endings. Thank you.
Thank you again. Thank you. Really.